Hello there everyone, it's Plagen here. Today we're going to be doing something a little interesting, at least something I've never done before. So basically what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be playing RoadCraft. I've already, as we can see here, if we hit click continue, I've 100%ed everything up to this point. There is some DLC that's coming later in, I think September or whatever, but anyway, going throughout it, I've been building roads and all that, and I had this crazy idea in my head that, hey, wouldn't it be interesting? Alright folks, we're loaded into the map here. So the first thing we're going to do every time we come into a map is look at the roads, see where exactly we're going to want to plan out roads to be at. That way we will kind of have a good general idea of what is needed and the best course of action to tackle things. So I believe the best course is going to go up north to that kind of water bridge thing we saw there that doesn't have a bridge on it. So the first thing we're going to need is, of course, a dump truck to dump sand to create the base of the road. And so we'll spawn this truck here, and then I want to open up the map in order to see any sand pits around. So if there is sand available we can refill from, it'll be in this yellow radius that's surrounding our vehicle. Unfortunately, there are none. So we're going to have to spawn in another truck to help us with this project. This particular truck is very good because if you can spawn it and move it on top of a place that has sand for you to harvest the sand from, when it's deployed you can refill any dump truck in that radius. So if we get back to the sand dump truck, while that's deploying we can go over here, and one thing I'm also going to do is cancel all of these infrastructure routes with AI drivers. They're going to get in the way if we don't. And I don't want them to run into piles of sand and stuff like that. Alright. So, we're going to get into position here. And I'm going to take a look, real quick, at laying down a route that we're going to be taking. I figure rather than open up the map to see when I need to make turns, it'll be easier to plot out a course with these markers, follow them, and then kind of go from there. So we're going to go through here, the top, through all that really flooded road, and then to the bridgehead here, basically. Okay, that'll be our first little road plan. So we're going to go out from this facility here. You can see as I lift the dump truck, I start dumping sand, but there's an issue with me not being able to dump sand here, and I was a little surprised by this. I suppose it makes sense because in the first tutorial level, you're not really supposed to be laying down sand. You don't even have a dump truck yet. So it would kind of make sense that I'm not able to dump sand here. So I'm like, okay, let's go up a little bit more. Maybe because this road looks fine, there's no need for me to, put stuff down. It's just, you can kind of see the asphalt beneath it and whatnot. So I keep trying here and there. Nope, can't do sand here. It's not great. So we keep going. And we're going to try and find an area where we can start putting down sand. So we finally managed to get here, and I think for a second it's not going to let me dump more sand, but then we hit the sweet spot, and we can. So this is going to be the start of where we're able to lay sand. So I'm just going to delete all these annoying little flags back here that we aren't going to be using. And then we're going to reposition this guy so that we can get more sand in the area and continue to lay sand. So we'll go ahead and forward through all that, and I'll meet you guys when we go on to the next step. Okay, so with the roads sand base completed there, what we're going to next be doing is getting out our bulldozer. It will be what we use to flatten the sand into a, well, road surface, more or less. So we're going to go ahead and get this down there and then start flattening things out. Alright, now that we are here at our sand pile, what we'll do is switch into flattening mode on the bulldozer, and we're just going to drive right over the top of it. We can use a little nice cinematic mode here to get a nice little view of it doing its job as well. So as you can see, it basically just flattens down the sand. There'll be a couple of like up and down things due to the difference in the level of sand here and there, but what's important is that it's flat, because the next thing that comes, which is going to be paving the sand with asphalt. If it's not flat, you're going to run into a lot of issues. But yeah, we'll just go through with the bulldozer, flatten it, and go from there. Our next mission, still with the dozer, is what we're going to want to do is try to get these little rocks off. It's a bit of a pain. It's going to mess up the road here and there, but these little rocks are going to get in the way of the paver as it comes down, because the paver does not have any clearance at all, so they're going to get stuck on it and everything. So I'm going to try and just push these off to the side to give enough room for the paver to come through here. And so I'll do my best, but unfortunately I can't really do much with the plow. There's not a good way. As you can see, the rocks should kind of slip underneath the blade here as you kind of push it, so you gotta kind of baby it, push like a little bit at a time, and then it still messes up, so you gotta back up and try it again, which is not the funnest thing. So it's good to get rid of rocks first sometimes, depending on how many there are, but I think for this it's just fine. So we will go ahead and put him off to the side, come back down to the base, and this time we're going to do something a little bit different because the paver is very, very slow. We're going to bring out our transport truck, and we're going to go ahead and position it off to the side over here. Then what we're going to do is we're not going to spawn the asphalt layer just yet. We're going to spawn our roller, which is actually up here at the top. This is the most modern of the rollers. It's a little bit quicker than the previous one, a little bit easier to control. So we'll be using that one. So we're just going to go ahead and line it up with the trailer here and ride it up the ramp. Next, we will actually spawn our asphalt paver and drive it right on up the ramp too. This one's a little bit harder. The tracks are pretty narrow, so if you get it off-centered, it's a huge mess to get back off and deal with. There's also barely any clearance in the back, so you're kind of going to scrape the rear end of it back there too. So it takes a little bit of practice to get it up here just right. Then we're going to switch back to the main thing and raise the ramp at the back, which will nudge that guy up because there's a lot of clearance there. And now we'll transport them like that. Unfortunately, we can't strap them down because they're just a little bit wider than the bed. So it's kind of a weird thing. We're also going to go ahead and spawn in our scout vehicle here, because we can use it in case the paver or roller get into a weird area. We can kind of winch them and get them off here. So I'm going to transport all 4 of these vehicles at once. First, what we're going to do is we're going to wind up the winch so that we're a little bit closer to the transport truck, and then we can turn on towing on our scout vehicle here, which will allow me to not only drive the scout vehicle but also use the power of the transport truck to drive. It's essentially like having 2 people in the vehicles, one in the scout car, one in the truck, driving at the same time, right? As opposed to just being in the scout car and trying to pull this huge heavy mass, which would be impossible. So we're gonna go ahead and just drive down here, and I'll meet you guys when we get down there. Now that we are here at the roadway has been prepared, we're going to back off the asphalt layer here first. And after a couple of tight turns, we'll get it pointed the correct direction here. And then we will activate the asphalt laying feature, which spreads out the asphalt layers back end. And we can see as we drive across here, fresh, hot asphalt begins to lay down. A nice roomy little cab here, not too bad, but we're just going to drive down here. You might notice a couple of times it's going to get stuck or turn wonky or something like that, and we'll have to kind of go back and finagle it out, but other than that, it's going to be just a nice, smooth, yet slow sailing to the end. Alrighty. With the asphalt laid down, we'll move on to the final step of the road making process, which is going to be flattening it into a nice, smooth layer with our roller here, once we can get it pointed the correct direction. In hindsight, I should have just left the truck pulled up a little bit further in order to just let me get off of it a little bit better, and maybe even move the Invictus scout vehicle there, but either way, once we do get pointed the right direction, we will go ahead and get going down, and then without issue, you'll see as the path we take becomes nice and flat and smooth. The one downside between using the previous paver is that it does pave quite a wide stretch, and unfortunately this is the widest roller in the game, so there's going to be a lot of unflattened asphalt on both sides. However, it's just going to be a temporary road anyway, so it's good enough for our purposes. Anyway, let's finish this up. Alright, and with that, the very first road's complete. Here you can see, I was looking to see if I could build a bridge across this gap here, but unfortunately I cannot. And I'm also looking around for, what exactly we can do next, if I can, dump sand anywhere else. So I'm going to spawn in a new dump truck before I commit to bringing the other ones down. And we're going to go ahead and just empty out a little bit of sand here with this one, because this particular dump truck has an issue where the sand will fall out of the back sometimes, and I don't really want that to happen. So I'm going to just go ahead and save us a lot of unnecessary time and headache here. I don't think there's anywhere else on this little map that we can actually dump sand into, and so I'm going to be struggling to actually find a place. I'll dump some sand here and there and find out, it's not going to let me. And so I decide, let's just stop. And then I looked at the second map, which is also a tutorial. It's the first map that kind of shows you how to use sand and make roads and whatnot. And unfortunately for us, it's basically the same map, just a little bit bigger. So we would have to repave the road we already did. But also there's, a lot of already paved and working roads there, and I also tested it in some areas and found that, some of the areas are still eating sand and not letting me build roads. So I figured what we'll do, we'll just skip the 2 tutorial levels past this point. So this is the first one, then there's a second one, and we'll just jump straight into the proper maps and start paving up roads, because it'll let us dump sand basically anywhere. And kind of go from there. So, thank you all for watching, and next time we will move on to Incommunicado and start paving roads there.